am Emily Whitney, and my tribute speech is going to be about my father, John Whitney. Life is the sum of your choices. That quote by Albert Camus, a Nobel Prize-winning novelist, is vividly brought to life in the story of one particular man I know. I would like to share with you someone in my life who has influenced me greatly, my father, John Whitney. My father is a self-sacrificing man who was authentic in all of his dealings with others. However, in keeping up with his realism, he tends to be thoughtless, like some people. It is because of his example that I carefully consider the choices that I will make as a parent, knowing I can dramatically affect the lives of my children through my choices and characteristics. John's characteristic of sacrificing his time and energy for others was quite authentic. He was never trying to gain anything for himself. I look back now and remember a scene that played itself out many times when I was a young child. I see a man in his late 30s or 40s who just wants to relax at the end of his day of work and family responsibility. When my brother and I go off to bed and AFV, America's Funniest Home Video, wraps up, I know that I want to talk to him, but now is not the time since he is exhausted. I certainly didn't want to get up at 4 a.m. to talk to him before he went to work, but he usually wakes us up earlier than we have to for school just to spend time with him before work. Dad, can I talk to you about something? Every time he would give me his full attention, and I would begin to discuss whatever was on my mind that day. The topics range from expanding bedtime curfews to school subjects to grand philosophical questions that I came up with. No matter what the topic or how late the conversation went, he always sacrificed his time and his sleep without ever making me feel like I was an inconvenience. He did not do this because he felt that he should, or to be a good parent. He did it because he wanted to. Our conversations were genuine, and he talked to me as a young individual as much as any person could possibly do when talking to a child. So as we have seen, my father was self-sacrificing and authentic. However, often a positive trait manifests itself in a negative fashion, as was the case with my father. His authenticity, being true to himself, often led him to thoughtlessness. Some of the consequences for John's actions fizzled out after a short time and left us with many entertaining stories, but other consequences were huge and could not be undone. For example, when I was little, I was extremely fascinated with chalk and drawing on my driveway. After drawing, I would run up to him and my mom and drag them to look at my magnificent creations. They always made me out to be a famous artist and hyped me up. It made me the happiest girl alive. Then one day he decided he needed to wash off his car. Living 10 miles out of town, he didn't want to waste the gas to go into town to the car wash. He rolled out of the hose and fired away. And on the driveway drizzled all of my creations and hard work. I was devastated. I cried and cried. First, because they were gone, and second, because the driveway was now wet and I could not redo them. After it rained, this wasn't a problem because who could I blame for messing up my creations? But this time, Dad was in for it. Today we have looked at someone who has influenced my life greatly through his characteristics and his choices, my father, John Whitney. We have seen that he was a very authentic person who could be self-sacrificing and yet tended to be impulsive. The impact of living through the consequences of my father's decisions has taught me to consider more fully the consequences of my own actions before I act. To Mr. Camus's quote, that our life is the sum of our choices, I would like to add that the choices of others are often included in the sum as well. Thank you.